So make sure you have your drawing aids set up like this. Everybody there? Yeah. Okay. And then we're going to slowly turn these on one at a time as we go along here. Okay? So, so your first command that I said you could do is copy. So let me demonstrate how that works. So say I need one of these. I need a device block. Okay? So you're going to select in the way that I've taught you to select. So I'm going to just take that. There's two ways to do this. You can select it first and then type copy. So you type the word copy or just CO, enter. Or you can type copy first, and then it says select what you want to copy, and you can select it. Doesn't matter either way, but if you do that option, you have to select it, and then you have to hit enter before you get the next prompt. And the next prompt is specify base point. And the base point is basically the origin. Because you copy things in AutoCAD by saying it starts here and I want the new one to be over here relative to where it started. Okay? So you can't, I mean you can, but it's hard. But usually you don't copy things by putting in absolute coordinates. You usually copy things by putting in relative coordinates. Right? Make a copy of this thing and place the copy of it in this location relative to the original. Okay? So you just have to pick a relative start point. I'm going to take, it doesn't really matter, but I'm just going to click somewhere inside of this thing. So start somewhere where this thing starts, so just click. Okay? And now you can drag your mouse, and it's going to take the whole thing. So we'll zoom out, maybe do a little panning, get it down to where I want it, and just click again, and there it is. And with copy, it'll let you keep copying.
Oh, I like that.
So I can just do as many of these as I want.
Wow. Oh, wow.
Right? I can keep doing that forever. If you ever want to stop copying, just move on to the next prompt. Because remember, in AutoCAD, as you're going through these commands, enter moves on to the next sequence in this command. So I just hit enter again, and the next prompt is stop copying. Okay? So.
Button to, like, once you put the first one down, is there, like, if you hold down shift, will it have your line go straight to when you copy, everything's in line? Or is
I'm going to show you.
it'll happen with, like, probably an object tracking.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to show you in a minute.
Okay.
So, so that's your basic copy command, right? So select something, say copy, click wherever at some starting point, and usually that starting point is somewhere on the thing you're copying, but not always, as you'll see in a minute here. And then the second point you click is the new location. So that's kind of the basic idea. But yeah, as Lance points out, I mean, I was not really trying all that hard to line these things up, and you know how I feel about lining things up now. And even just a cursory glance here, you can see these things are not very well lined up. They're close, but close is not enough in AutoCAD anyway. So let's go ahead and just delete these extra ones. So erase them. So select them and then hit erase. Get rid of those. Erase. I'm going to have this one instead. So here's where we're going to try object snap. Okay? So go ahead and turn on object snap, which is this little thing right down here. A little square with the dot on the corner of it. The other thing is, if you right-click on that object snap button, it'll give you, these are the snap points. So this is, what these are is, this is ways that your cursor can kind of snap to these types of things to help you pick your starting points and ending points and stuff like that. So if you turn them all on, things get really confusing very quickly. So you'll develop a method on your own of which ones are helpful to you. But I'll tell you the ones that are helpful to me. I really like midpoint, endpoint, midpoint, center, node, quadrant, and an intersection. Those are the ones that seem to be the most useful to me. Extension is not as helpful to me, but I usually leave it on just because it's there. Every once in a while, the perpendicular is helpful to me, but I'll leave that off for now. But for now, I would definitely turn on endpoint and midpoint, because you're going to need those for what I'm about to show you. OK, so now what I'm going to do is same thing. I'm going to copy this device. And now look, now that I've got object snap turned on, see how I snap to different spots here? Right?
Oh, I like that.
OK, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to snap to that top corner. This is my base point now. And now I'm going to go all the way down here. And you see how I get that vertical guide? Do you get that? To keep it in line with that original snap point. So figure out how far apart you want those to be vertically, and just do one click. OK, and now hit Enter, and you're done for a second. OK? You see that? Did everybody get that? So you should have a second copy of it that is vertically aligned. You know, a column of them, but they're aligned on that top left corner.
But there's not a way to make this, like, if you're slightly crooked, there's not a button that you can press to say, I want it to be straight. Like, even within this.
What do you mean?
Like, so I'm copying one. I'm copying the original, and I'm trying to copy it all the way down directly below it.
That's really far. So what I was saying is, if you start, just plop the first one anywhere you want.
Next to it, okay.
So you're skipping ahead for me a little bit.
Okay.
Well, I think what you're trying to do is the thing I'm going to tell you in just a second. But for now, what I'm saying is just copy one. It doesn't matter where it goes. And now you want more copies of it that are aligned. And now, instead of copying the original one, you're going to copy the copy. So I'm going to copy this one. Watch again. I'm going to select. And then I'm going to click at that top corner. And then work my way down, keeping that guideline, that vertical guideline in place. There we go. And then I'm done. OK, and I'll get to, yes, any other questions? Everybody, did that work for everybody? No?
And it keeps it in line.
You don't double click it. You just single. Yeah.
Do I just turn it on?
Yeah, that's it. It's on.
Am I missing?
Okay, I
Okay, I have this. I've copied it. Base point's the bottom left corner.
Everything's selected.
But like,
Yeah.
oh, it did
See?
it right there.
See how it snaps?
Okay.
Mine just doesn't seem to be snapping correctly. Let me delete all of these little extra.
Yeah, get rid of all the extra ones. You just need one.
Did you right click on the thing? And then you change.
So I'm just gonna select this.
Yeah, and get rid of that too. OK, so zoom in now on that one.
Is it still copying?
Whoa.
OK, so select that, that whole thing. Now do copy. And now snap your cursor to that top left corner. Right?
Oh, I see.
Click. And now pull down. You see how you get that guideline
Yeah.
that keeps it aligned? There.
Even if you go off, will it?
Well, no, I mean, if you go off, it'll put it where you want to put it. But if you keep it, if you let it snap there before you click, then it's good.
Okay.
So now hit Enter, and now you got it. OK? OK. So now what if I want a whole bunch of these? You ready? Everybody got this? Two of them that are aligned on that left side? OK. So now maybe I want a whole bunch of them, and I want them all to be aligned on that left side, but I also want the spacing between them to be the same as the spacing between these first two. Yeah? So here's what I'm going to do. Instead of copying the first one, I'm going to copy the second one. So I'm going to do this. I'll say copy. Now, base point. Instead of using the corner of the second one as my base point, I'm going to use the corner of the first one as my base point. So watch. Watch what I do. Watch me. Don't look at your screen. Watch me. I have the second one selected, and I've issued copy, and it's asking me for my base point. I'm going to say my base point is this. And my next point is the top corner of the one I'm copying. And see what happens now? Now the new one is exactly spaced the same as the one before. And I can keep going and keep spacing them by snapping to the new ones. You see that? Now those are perfectly aligned on every side, and they're spaced exactly the same way. So try and do that. So this is where, remember I said where usually your origin point for copy is the thing you're copying. But there's an example where you might use an origin that is outside of the object that you're copying, because you can use that spacing that exists between the two objects already to create appropriate spacing with everything else. Okay? Yes?
Wait, how were you able to get the points?
What's that?
How were you able to get the point?
So yeah, do copy. And now select that second one. The whole thing. Yep. Yep. No, don't. You just remember how to select. Click. Click. Now hit enter. All right. Now it's asking you for base point. Base point should be. Oh, you turned off your object snap. Turn it back on. Click. Yep. Okay. How's that? Everybody else got that okay?
Yeah.
All right. So, great. So there's object snap. Let me show you another one that you might find helpful. So let's go up here and let's get this little AV panel thing. So I'm going to copy that. Select that whole thing, and I'm going to bring that down. Just bring it down somewhere into this area. Okay. Now, this is currently drawn as what I would call an input panel. In other words, I'm going to patch things into this. But what if I want it to be an output panel? That was something that would represent the outputs of something. Well, it would need to be the other way around, right? All these connections would need to be on the left side of the box as opposed to the right side of the box. This is where a command called mirror can be your friend. So start by typing the word MI for mirror. You can type the whole word, but MI is the shortcut. Hit enter. And it says, OK, select objects. I want to select only the things that are inside the box, but not the box itself. OK, so watch what I do. I'm going to start down here on the bottom left in a place that I know is below here. And then I'm going to drag right, and I'm going to make a blue thing that encapsulates only the things that are in there. But it won't select the box because the box is not fully inside of that blue selection rectangle. Okay? So then I click. There you go. Now I've got all those things. And then I hit enter to confirm that selection. And now it says, specify the first point of the mirror line. So you've got to tell it what is the line on which it should flip everything. And in this case, that line is going to be the middle of the box, right? And remember I told you to turn on midpoint in your object snap? If it's not turned on, turn it on now. Because midpoint is that. Okay, you see that snap point? So I'm going to say there. And then my next midpoint would be the top midpoint of that box. There. So it mirrored them. Now it's saying, hey, what do you want to do with the original objects? Do you want to keep them or do you want to erase them? So the question is, erase source objects, yes or no? In this case, the answer is yes. So just type yes, enter, and it flipped it, including the text, which is pretty slick. Okay? So try that. See if you can make that work. Everybody make that work? Okay. So that's mirror. Mirror can be very helpful and will be helpful to you in doing this project because you're going to sometimes have to copy things from the drawing that are kind of what you need, but you need them to be backwards from what they currently are. And Mirror can help you. All right. So knowing now that I really care a whole lot about alignment, I really would like the top of this panel to line up with the top of my first piece of equipment. This is where something called object snap tracking will be very helpful. So that's this next thing that you have turned off. So turn that on, and you get all the same things, right? So turn on whatever you want, but definitely in point, midpoint, center. I would definitely do those and other ones if you want to. Okay? Object snap tracking. This thing. Make sure that's turned on now. This allows you to not only snap to spots on something that's wrong, but you can track relative to those things. Let me show you how that works, okay? So I'm going to use a command called move, because I want to move this panel into a place where it will be aligned on, with the top of my first piece of equipment. So I'm going to say M-O-V-E for move. Select objects. I'll select this thing. And it says specify the base point. The base point will be the top corner of this box. Now watch what I do. Watch me. If you don't watch me, you will miss it. So I'm going to take this now, and I'm going to go over here. And watch what happens. Because I've got object snap tracking turned on, boom, it snaps there. And now, as I drag right, it keeps it. See that dotted line? It keeps it aligned vertically. So I just take it however far I want it and hit click. And now those are perfectly aligned because I tracked off of the point of that top one. So everybody do that. Make sure that that works. That work? Yes? OK. So now I'm going to show you another thing about object snap tracking is you can actually track from two different points at the same time with object snap tracking. So what if I want to make a copy of this panel and I want it to be down here below, but I want it to be aligned both with the side of the first panel but also the top of this next equipment thing. So in this case, I'm going to copy. And I'm going to click at the top right corner again, track down from there. And while I'm tracking down from there, I'm going to go over and grab that top left point, track back from there, and see where it jumps there. And now jumps to the spot where those two tracking points intersect. And if I hit click, now it's perfectly aligned there and perfectly aligned there. Try that. Does that work? Yeah? OK. So let me show you the next thing. You ready for the next thing? OK. So I'm going to go get a microphone. I think I'll take that. And I'm going to use the end of that line as my base point. I'll bring it over here. Now, I want it to go into input 1 of this first thing. So I'm going to object snap track off of the connection to input 1, but I need it to be farther out. So I'm going to put it here. OK, see that? So I put it in there. It is aligned with that input 1 connection, but there's a gap. You see the gap? Now, you know how to draw lines. So you could just do line click, snap to that, click, snap to that, right? You could do that, but I told you you have to do this project without drawing any lines, okay? So instead, you're going to use the extend command, okay? So try it. We're going to type extend. Just EX is for extend. And it says select objects. Now you want to select the thing that you want the line to extend to. What's the thing I want my microphone line to extend to? The box, right? So you could do the box, or you could do that line if you're positive it's perfectly lined up. But I'm going to do the box just to be safe. Okay, and then hit enter. And it says, okay, select the object that you want to extend. The object I want to extend is that line. So you hover over it, and you get the little phantom line of here's what's going to happen if you click. And if that looks right to me, so I just click, and it extends it all the way over there. Okay? And then I hit enter to go out of that command. That work? Yes. So here it is. I'm going to type EX for extend. I'm going to select the box, enter, or spacebar. And then you're going to select the line that you want to extend, and it pops over there. That work?
I haven't found the microphone yet.
There's a couple different ones. You can, I stole the one off the wireless mic,
Yeah, okay.
but you can use the one up above it too. Just don't take the loopy-loop with it.
Okay. Yeah, the loopy-loop kept throwing me off. I was like, that's not a microphone.
Yeah, but you don't have to take the loopy-loop. You can just take the line from before it. Okay? Does that work? All right, there's one more command that you might find helpful, and that is the trim command. So let me show you how trim works. So let's pretend for a moment that these two panels that I made are actually the same panel, and I'm just drawing them twice for clarity's sake. And so I want to add the break line at the bottom of those, okay? So, and you're not allowed to draw that break line, so you have to go steal it. So let's go steal it from somewhere up here. There it is. So I'm going to copy, and I select just that break line, enter. And the origin point here, I want to be that midpoint, right? That end point between that in the middle of that vertical line. Because that's where then I can place it. I can snap to the midpoint of the box using object snap and get it in just the right spot. So all right, that's where I want it to go from. And then I'm going to put it here, snapping to that midpoint, and here, snapping to that midpoint. Okay? And now you're saying, okay, great, it's in the right spot, Jason, but it doesn't look right. And you're right, what doesn't look right about it? Yeah, the line that goes through it. So we got to get rid of that line. So we're going to use the trim command for that. So just type TR for trim, enter, and it says select objects. Now this is, what I want to do is I want to trim this line out, okay? But I have to tell it where to trim to. So that's the thing I select first. I'm going to say, all right, trim off of that and that. Enter. And then it says select the object to trim, and it's that. And so if I click there, it's going to get rid of any line that is in between those two spots that I said were the ends. So I just say click, and it goes away. So let me show you again on the next one, for those that missed part of that. Trim, select that line, enter, and then the line in the middle, and it goes away. Okay. I have now shown you everything you need to know to create So what would happen, let's say I wanted to, so let's say there's a few ways to do this, but I'll show you the way that uses the commands I've taught you. So what I would want to do is take, let me do this, actually. So I'm going to take one of these. I'll put it over here. OK. So what I really want to do is have it come all the way down to there. OK? So there's two ways you can do this. I think the way I'm going to show you is OK, I'll show you the first way. This is the dangerous way. OK, so you're going to click on this rectangle, and then you see you get this little grabber here. If you now click on that, you can stretch this. The dangerous thing is it's really easy to make it skewampus. OK, but you can go and track off of there. And let's see if we can. This is the dangerous way. The problem here is how do you get it to snap vertical, right? Well, there is a drawing aid you can turn on there, which is called polar tracking, which is this over here. So if you turn that on, it'll track vertically. So I can now go off of this, and now it would snap vertically, right? And then you could go on from there. So that's one way of doing it. Here's the other way of doing it. And this requires a slight cheat based on the rules I've given you, but it doesn't. I would allow it because you're not actually going to keep this line. Okay. So what you'd have to do is do a line and just draw. You're going to do a guideline. You're going to start from the bottom here, and then you're going to track off of the bottom of this and draw it right there. Okay? And then you can extend to that. Oh, hang on. I have to explode it. Okay. I'm going to teach you one more command. You can use this if you want, but it's a dangerous one. It's called explode. Okay? So what explode does is take a polygon and turn it into individual lines. Okay? So just type explode, and then click on that rectangle, enter. Now that rectangle becomes individual lines. See that? And now I can take this, move it down here, and then I can extend. Boom, boom. That's the safest way to extend, and then you can delete this guideline. Safest way to do it, because then you know that it's definitely vertical. The stretch handle can cause you trouble. I can't tell you how many times I've seen people use that, and they end up with crooked boxes because it doesn't always behave the way you think it will behave. So that's the absolute most accurate way to do it is to explode. If you have to explode the box, explode it, and then you can just extend the lines down based on a guideline. Yeah.
Is it like?
You can, but it involves. Actually, once upon a time I made a macro for that because it's like 8 commands to do that.
Do you have to like join each thing and like combine them?
Yeah, let me show you. So the command is pedit, and select polyline, and you want actually multiple. So M for multiple. All right, and you select all the objects. There, enter, and now it says convert lines, arcs and splines to polylines. Yes. And you want to, what is your option? You want to join, so you're going to do J for join. No fuzz distance. and then done. And now it's a rectangle again.
But we don't have to do that.
No.
You don't care if they're
No,
individual lines.
I don't care if they're individual lines or rect. Doesn't really matter. Okay.
Are we making this on this document with all of these colors, or?
Don't worry about the colors. The colors, as far as you're concerned, don't mean anything right now. In fact, they're not actually colors. They present as colors, but in reality, they are layers. And I haven't taught you what layers are yet. So don't worry about layers. Okay? But yes, you should be able to create this diagram, which I'm just calling a system. You're not worrying about labels or anything. Everything's unlabeled. You're just kind of creating the skeleton of the system diagram, and you're going to create it. I want it to look as close to exactly like this, without tracing it. Don't trace it. And you can draw it all by just copying objects from this. That's how I created it. So I drew this by just going through the exact process I just showed you. Copy, move, mirror, trim, extend, using object snap and object snap tracking. I drew this entire thing doing that. So it is possible. This is not like a drawing that I pretended like I did the way that I'm telling you to. I actually did it the way I'm telling you to do it. And so I know it is possible. Okay? Other questions?
Do you want us to do this on a new drawing or just underneath?
No. Yeah, just underneath. Exactly what I've just done here.
Can we put it on a new drawing? Yeah. If you want to.
Well,
Makes it harder.
it makes it a lot harder because you're copying and copying to a new drawing, which is it's a lot harder, and because I haven't really taught you how to do that, but.
Oh, okay. I don't know how to do that.
Can't you just use like Command C and Command V?
Yeah, but then it's hard. You can't use tracking that way, and the tracking is helpful. So that seems like it would save you time. It actually doesn't, because you have to do extra steps then to get them all to line up. But there's nothing wrong with having, as you'll see in a few weeks when I teach you plotting, ultimately the universe that you share these drawings with, they only see the parts of the file that you want them to see. So having extra stuff in there doesn't mean that you got a messy drawing. It's just no one ever sees that part. Okay? And I would tell you that the vast majority of people who CAD like this is how they do it. They're not drawing every line every time. They've got templates and blocks like this. They drew these things once, and they're just copying and mirroring and extending, and then updating labels, right? Because otherwise, if you have to draw every single thing every single time you do, I mean, you'll die before you get anything real done. I mean, it's just like it takes too long. So the vast majority of people that do CAD, and I've said this before, but many of you, like, these will be your first jobs, is doing CAD for people. And they usually don't pay you by the hour. They pay you by the gig. So, or pay you by the plate or whatever, however many drawings you generate. So the faster you generate that drawing, the more money you're theoretically making, right? Because, you're just getting, the sooner you can get this one done, the sooner you can move on to the other one you get paid for, right? So learning shortcuts like this of, okay, I don't actually have to draw these lines. I just have to draw that line once, and then I can use it a million times, okay, is really helpful. So that is the assignment. Same thing for everybody. I'm not going to beat you up on this one, Lance, because I think this one's hard enough. I kind of think it might be a little too hard, but but I want to see what you can do.
I can't get that to work.
Yeah, same.
I'm sure I'm just like.
Okay. Let me